Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome to our new video. Disclaimer: none of the event mentioned are true. No adult is being harmed in the video, and any adult doesn't have any type of negative role. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's start our next part of our video. Jungkook had been pacing his study restlessly, the storm outside echoing the storm inside his chest. He could not forget the letter he had found, could not ignore Minnie whispered innocence, could not escape the memory of her once radiant smile. His pride kept him chained, but his heart, traitorous and etching, pulled him toward her again and again. When he heard the sound of the back door slamming in the wind, instinct prickled through him. Something felt wrong. He strode through the hallways, his pace quickening until he reached the courtyard, and what he saw there made his breath catch. Minnie lay on the cold, wet stone, her skin pale against the rain, her body trembling from the chill. For a second, the world stopped. Then Jungkook was moving, faster than thought, his arms scooping her up from the ground. Minnie, his voice cracked, rough with panic. Her head rolled against his chest, rain dripping from her hair onto his shirt. He didn't care. He clutched her cold clothes, shielding her from the storm as he rushed back. Inside, servants gasped at the sight, scrambling to fetch towels and blankets. But Jungkook barked, "Move!" and carried her strength to their room. He laid her gently on the bed, his hands trembling as he brushed the wet strands of hair from her face. Her lips were cold, her eyelids fluttering weakly. Why would you do something so foolish? His voice broke, half anger, half despair. He grabbed the blanket and tugged it around her, rubbing her arms to restore warmth. "Don't you know you are—" He stopped himself before the words pregnant escaped, the fear climbing too deep in his chest. Her lips parted, a faint whisper escaping barely audible above the pounding rain. "Jungkook, I never betrayed you." His heart stilled. The words, fragile and weak, cut deeper than any blade. She wasn't vague enough to see him. Her eyes remained shut, her body limp, but her voice carried a truth he could no longer deny. She spoke without defense, without agenda, just the raw honesty of her heart. For the first time, Jungkook felt his rage faltered. He sat on the edge of the bed, his hand hovering above hers, but not quite daring to hold it. His eyes burned as he watched her shiver beneath the blankets. The storm outside rang as violently as the storm with him. "Then why does it feel like I am the one betrayed?" he whispered to himself, his voice breaking, but she was too far to gone to hear. The days that followed marked a subtle shift. Jungkook told himself nothing had changed. that his pride and pain were still intact. Yet every time Jamin drew near me, a new fight sparkled in his chest. It began with small things when Jamin tried to bring her meals. Jungkook intercepted, telling the servants he would handle. When Jamin tried to bring her meals in the sitting room, speaking gently to her about her health, Jungkook suddenly appeared, his presence heavy and unyielding, until the younger brother excused himself. At breakfast one morning, Jamin reached to pour Minnie a cup of tea. Jungkook's hand shot out, taking the pot himself. "I will do it," he said curtly, not meeting either of their eyes. Minnie looked down, confused, while Jamin arched a brow but said nothing. When Jamin offered to accompany her on short walks in the garden for fresh air, Jungkook suddenly declared that she could rest, and if Jamin insisted, Jungkook himself joined. His step heavy, his eyes sharp, as if daring his brother to cross an invisible line. To everyone else, Jungkook masked it as dignity, as the rightful authority of a husband who would not have his wife's honor questioned. But inside, he knew the truth. It was jealousy, burning, relentless jealousy, that twisted every glance between Minnie and Jamie into a thorn in his chest. And though he still could not bring himself to say the words, though apology and tenderness were locked behind the bars of his pride, his actions betrayed him. He hovered near her more than before, his eyes following her unconsciously, his anger flaring whenever anyone else, especially Jamin, stepped into a space that should have been his. Minnie noticed the change, though she declared not hope. She saw the way he lingered at the doorway when she spoke with Jamin, the way his jaw clenched when she smiled faintly at his brother's kindness. She saw the way he reached out once, just once, to steady her elbow when she stumbled, before quickly pulling his hand away. And though he still remained cold, though his words cut more often than they healed, Minnie clung to the smallest shift in him, the storm that no longer solely with hatred, but with something far more dangerous, something that looked, for the first time in months, like the shadow of love trying to return. The mansion lay in silence, save for the sound of the clock tickling steadily in the hallway. Minnie had fallen asleep on the couch that evening, her body exhausted from the weight of pregnancy and the invisible burden of loneliness. Her head rested awkwardly against the armrest, her hand protectively curled around her growing belly. The faint flicker of the fireplace painted soft shadows across her face, making her look fragile, almost breakable. Jungkook had returned late that night, as he often did, the smell of rain clinging to his coat. He paused at the doorway, his eyes catching the sight of her sleeping so soundly, yet with an impression that revealed everything she endured silently. There was no peace on her face, only a kind of sorrow etched deep into her features. For the first time in months, something stirred inside him. Not anger, not resentment, but a heaviness he couldn't quite name. Without a word, he walked closer, his eyes lowered to her small form curled up against the chill of the night, almost against his will. His hand reached for the folded blanket on the armchair. He hesitated. Why should he? Why should he care? The voice of rage whispered in his ear, but another voice, softer, quieter, spoke louder for once. Carefully, he lifted the blanket and wrapped it over her. The fabric slid gently across the body, tucking her into warmth. His finger brushed against her hair for the briefest second before he drew back as if burned. He stood still, staring at her, as if caught in some battle with himself. Then, with a deep breath, he turned away. But Minnie wasn't as asleep as he thought. Her eyes fluttered open the moment he left the room. She lay very still, her heart thudding painfully against her ribs. She had noticed, she had felt it, the rare of softness of his presence, the warmth of the blanket, the unspoken care in his gesture. A small trembling smile touched her lips, though tears glistened in her eyes. For her, even the smallest act of kindness from him was enough to keep her hope alive. The days passed and Minnie pregnancy progressed. The household grew busier, the servants preparing everything, though most orders came from Jungkook, but from Jamin, who still remained her closest support. But something had shifted. Small, almost invisible changes in Jungkook's behavior. He still carried his pride like armor, still spoke coldly when others were watching, yet there were cracks forming in the walls he had built around himself. One morning, Minnie craving struck her harshly. She sat in the kitchen corner, the servants flustered, unsure of what to prepare that would satisfy her sudden desire for something sweet and sour at once. She lowered her gaze, embarrassed, whispering, "It's fine. I don't want to trouble anyone." Her words reached Jungkook as he passed by. He stopped mid-set, his brows furrowing. The servant hesitated, unsure if to scold her or walk away. Instead, he ordered sharply, "Why are you all standing there useless? If you want mangoes, get them. If you want soup, make it. Don't make her say it twice." The room went still. Minnie blinked up at him, wide eyed. She wanted to ask why, but before she could speak, he added quickly, "I don't want her falling sick and bring disgrace. Do it properly." His tone was harsh, his words defensive, but the meaning beneath them was clear enough. He was worried. Later that evening, when a bowl of carefully prepared soup was placed before him, Jungkook didn't sit with her. He stood near the doorway, arms crossed. Prepared soup was placed before her, pretending to be uninterested, but his eyes lingered, watching as she ate quietly, her hands trembling slightly from weakness. Something inside him softened again. He remembered once before the hatred, when he'd taken her out of the market, and she had laughed so freely, testing every snack, tugging at his sleeve with shining eyes. That memory made his chest itch in a way that anger could not soothe. The real moment of change, however, came unexpectedly. It was late at night and Minnie had been struggling to fall asleep. The baby had been restless, moving inside her more strongly than usual. She shifted uncomfortably, placing her palm against her belly in an effort to calm herself. Jungkook had come in quietly, intending only to grab some papers he had left on the desk. But when he noticed her sitting up, his steps slowed. "Why aren't you asleep?" His voice came out more concerned than he intended. Minnie glanced at him, startled by the softness in his tone. "The baby, it's keep moving. I can't rest." He frowned, stepping closer. His eyes dropped to her hands resting over her belly. Something compelled him forward, something beyond anger or logic. Without thinking, he reached out, his fingers brushing against her as he placed his hand gently on her stomach. The baby kicked, strong, alive, real. Jungkook froze, his eyes widened in shock as he felt the tiny thumb beneath his palm. His heart skipped a beat, then another, as if the rhythm of his entire being had changed in that instant. He looked up at Minnie, who was already watching him with tears in her eyes. "He's real," Jungkook whispered, almost to himself. His hands trembled slightly, but he didn't move it away. Minnie nodded, her voice breaking. "Yes, he's yours." Something inside Jungkook shattered all the anger, all the resentment, the blind hatred he had nurtured for so long. It wavered in that fragile moment. He could no longer deny that this child was a piece of both of them, a living bond that tied them together, whether if he wanted it or if he don't want him. His chest tightened, but this time it wasn't rage. It was something deeper, more vulnerable. He quickly pulled his hand away, standing abruptly as if to protect himself from the emotions threatening to overwhelm him. "Get some rest," he muttered, his voice rough. "You need it." But even as he walked away, he couldn't shake off the memory of that kick, the undeniable proof of life he had felt beneath his palm. For the first time in months, he found himself lying awake, staring at the ceiling, haunted not by betrayal or revenge, but by the soundless echo of baby's heartbeat in his hand. And for Minnie, that moment was everything. Though he didn't spoke much, though he still hid behind coldness, she had seen the flicker in his eyes, the raw vulnerability he couldn't disguise. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, his heart could still find its way back to hers. Jungkook had always been a man who prided himself on control, control of his business, his household, his emotion. For months he had clung to that control like armor, keeping himself distant from Minnie, convincing himself that anger was easier than love. Yet, ever since the night when he had felt the baby's first kiss, something inside him had been changing, slowly and silently, like ice melting under sunlight. He began to notice things he had ignored before, the way Minnie's hand trembled when she carried a jug of water, the soft winds she tried to hide when she bent to pick something up, the faint shadows under her eyes from restless nights. Each small detail pricked at his chest, reminding him of how fragile she was, how much she endured in silence. And every time he remembered her quiet smile when he had placed that blanket over her, or the way she had whispered, "He is yours." When he touched her belly, he felt his heart breaking open in ways he didn't know how to handle. He started avoiding mirrors because when he looked into them, he didn't see the cold, vengeful husband he had tried to become. He saw a man in love, a man terrified. Because the truth, the realization he could no longer deny was simple. He still loved her, he always had. No matter how much hate he had poured over her, no matter how often he reminded himself of the betrayal he believed she carried from her family. His heart had never stopped belonging to her, but now another fear consumed him, the fear of her rejection. He had hurt her so deeply, crushed her so mercilessly, that he wondered if love could still live in her heart for him. What if she despised him now? What if every gentle word she spoke, every quiet glance was only out of duty and not love? The thought tore him apart more than any revenge ever could. The dangerous night came without warning. It was raining heavily outside. The winds hollow against the winds when Minnie suddenly clutched her stomach in pain. She had been reading quietly in her room, her hand absent stroking her belly, when a sharp cramp tore through her body. Her book slipped from her fingers as she gasped, her face draining of color. A maid screamed, running down the hall for help. Jungkook, who had been working in his study, heard the commotion and rushed out, his heart thudding wildly. The sight that met his eyes froze him in place. Minnie bent over, her arm wrapped protectively around her stomach, sweat already glistening on her forehead. "Minnie!" His voice cracked with panic as he ran to her side. "What happened? What's wrong?" She tried to smile, tried to hide the pain, but tears slipped down her cheeks as another wave of agony hit her. "The baby, it hurts, Jungkook." He scooped her up in his arms without hesitation. His hand trembled as he carried her toward the bed. "Call the doctor, now!" He roared at the servant, his usual calm authority shattered by sheer fear. As he laid her gently on the bed, he felt her grip tightened around his sleeve. Her eyes searched him desperately, full of pain and something deeper, trust. The trust pierced him like a blade. She was still holding on to him, despite everything. The minutes stretched into an eternity as the doctor finally arrived, checking her condition with hurried. Jungkook paced the floor, his heart hammered so loudly he thought it might burst. Every time Minnie cried out in pain, he flinched, his fists clenching helplessly at his sides. The doctor's words were grave. The stress has affected her. She needs rest, immediate care, and stability. If this continues, we risk losing both mother and child. The words shattered Jungkook were lose her, lose. Minnie lay there, her breathing shallow, her face pale as snow. She looked so fragile, so breakable, as if one wrong move would make her disappear forever. And for the first time in his life, Jungkook felt true fear, not of losing power, not of betrayal, but of losing the woman he loved. That night he sat by her side long after the doctor had left, refusing to move even when the servants urged him to rest. He held her hand tightly, his thumb brushing over her cold fingers, his head bowed in silent torment. It was then, in the stillness of the night, with the storm raging outside, that Jungkook finally broke. He looked at her face, at the tears still drying on her cheeks, and his chest caved under the weight of everything he had done. All the cruelty, all the words that had cut her like knives, all the times he had turned away when she needed him most. They flashed before his eyes like a merciless reel of regret, bowing his head against their entwined hands. His voice trembled as he whispered into the darkness, "Please, please don't take her away from me. Don't punish me by taking her. Take anything else, my pride, my name, my wealth, but not her." His words turned into a prayer, desperate and raw. "If she lives, I swear I will never hurt her again. I will protect her, cherish her, love her the way I should have from the beginning. Just let her live. Let our child live, please." Tears burned his eyes, but he didn't wipe them away. They fell freely, soaking the sheets, marking the first time he allowed himself to admit how deeply, how irrevocably he loved her. And though Minnie drifted in and out of consciousness, half aware of his presence, she heard fragments of his broken whispers. Somewhere in the haze of her pain, her heart caught the trembling truth in his voice, and despite the darkness that pressed in around her, she clung to that sound, to that love she had longed for. When dawn broke, Jungkook was still there, his hand never leaving her. The storm had passed, the air heavy but quiet, as even the world had been holding its breath for her. Minnie stood, her lash fluttering open, and but the first thing she saw was him, her cold husband, now with eyes red from unshed tears, his face pale from worry, his expression laid bare with love he had tried so long to hide. "Jungkook," she whispered weakly. His hand tightened around her instantly. His lips parted as if he wanted to confess everything, but the words stuck in his throat. He leaned closer, his forehead resting gently against her hand, his voice breaking. "You are safe now. Just don't leave me, please." And though he hadn't yet said the words aloud, Minnie knew she couldn't feel it in the way his hand trembled around her, in the way his eyes lingered on her with desperation. He still loved her. Hope you guys liked the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to my channel. And tell me in comment section what type of videos you like. You guys are not commenting in my videos, and this is giving me headache. Okay, that's it for. Bye bye. See you soon.